officers and employees here.
Do we want to take this time to speak about, okay.
So in this time, just a reminder to the boards, the Freedom of Information Act training is on that's a Monday, correct? Monday, February 24th at 7 p.m. Here? Here. My understanding is they're trying to get a sense of how many people will attend. So of the board members who are here, who is planning on attending? 1, 2, 3,
Yeah, I gotta
4.
double check again with Ian and see if I would like at least Jim to come, but I know I'm coming.
Kristen had indicated to me that she was also planning on attending 6. So that's 6, and I would think that Charlie, we can touch base with Charlie to make sure. Bob, I don't know, since he's been on the board for so long, he may or may not go. Okay. So please put that on your calendar. It is, it's important that we all understand freedom of information, what we should and shouldn't do in terms of communications. Approval of minutes. We have the December 19th regular meeting.
I'll move to approve them, but I wanted to talk about 2 items after we.
Okay, do I have a second?
There are some things that need to be changed.
Okay, so we have a second, so now we can discuss those.
So I thought you were approving that.
Point of order, if there's things to be changed, we really shouldn't be making motions to approve.
Yes, I agree. That's what I was trying to say. Wait a minute.
You can't discuss.
discuss anything until there's a motion on the floor.
Oh, to approve them?
Yeah, and you're supposed to make a positive motion.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And then we can, based on the
discuss corrections.
or
And
changes.
then the motion maker can agree to accept the corrections, or you can vote on the corrections separately.
So why don't we start with the changes that you already know about?
Right, just minor little things. One of the commas after Mr. Cuthill's name, I think can be removed. The other
I'm not a
item,
two-column person.
Apparently not.
another item is that the, number 6, new business, office operating expense, the total budget is 2,200. That line item is actually 900.
What was that? Say that again, please?
Yes.
Office operating expense under new business number 6
Yes.
is 900. The total of the Board of Finance budget is 2,200. Just that office operating expense is 900.
Okay.
And the other one was,
Can we put in there, so it's payroll 1,300, office operating expenses 900 for a total of,
2,200.
can you add, change the 2,200 to 900 and add total Board of Finance 2,200 and then space auditing services 26,500 contracted amount. Because those were there were two separate budgets that we voted on.
correct, yes. And the other one is the, trying to look, because I didn't get a chance to mark up this one, is that the name of the people, it's People's United Bank. Okay, under revenue summary,
Where are they?
under revenue summary is number 4
4B.
is the bank is People's United.
That's important because there was a people's bank.
Taken over by People's United, which is the second line of that paragraph. And I thought you'd catch it, Dick, because your wife works there.
So that's interesting that you say that now, because now I don't know exactly. The name changed to People's United Bank. I'm not sure that People's United Bank took over United Bank.
They did.
Yes, they
United Bank is now People's United Bank.
That's true, but I'm not sure that.
They are called People's United.
I'm not sure that United Bank wasn't taken over by People's Bank.
No,
It's now
Well,
called
it's a separate
People's
bank.
United.
I know what it's called
Okay,
now.
sorry.
Okay, what I want to know is prior to the takeover, what was the takeover bank called?
it was United Bank. We banked with United Bank.
No, time out.
The acquirer.
The acquirer.
Not the acquirer.
The acquirer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if they were already People's United.
No, I don't think they were.
Oh, yeah,
I think they
don't
were
know.
People's Bank.
Yes.
Let me check it.
Yep.
Well, go ahead. Why don't you
So-
proceed and I'll check.
At this point, it is now People's United, so, because I know on their front
I
webpage it shows
understand what you're
both
saying
ways.
there. Yeah.
But there might have been an
I don't
intermediate.
know.
So if you're going to say that one bank took over another, you ought to be specific about what the name of the bank was that was the acquirer. Because we know they took over United Bank and it ended up being People's United, but I'm not sure what the acquiring bank's
It wasn't
name
People's
was.
United, but I don't know if this was what they were before.
I see what you're trying to say.
See what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Or do
I
we
see
just
what you're
drop
saying,
the
but I'm not
fact
sure.
that it was, an acquisition and just say our interest rate's gonna drop? And then you don't have to deal with it. Because it doesn't really matter. It's the
Yeah.
rates dropping with the by this bank, whatever its name is, that we keep our funds in.
Right.
So whatever we want to do,
I'm fine with that too.
that'll solve a lot of research that we can't do before we have to approve these.
So,
Unless someone's
Oh,
Googling.
you have little faith.
he's a quick
You're
Google.
Googling away?
I am.
Or texting his wife, one of the two.
No, I don't want to bother.
Did you have any other changes, Jill?
Okay, so I have the answer here.
Okay.
People's United Bank to acquire Hartford-based United Bank.
Okay, so it is correct to say that United Bank was taken over by People's United Bank and the interest rate on it,
Yeah, right.
I have a question. I'm not sure who's right, who can answer this, but in the minutes, it said that Kirsten approved the contract with Columbia for 2020 to 2030. That's 10 years. That seems like an awful lot.
I actually went back and listened to the audio because it concerned me too, and that's what she said.
That's what I have in my notes as well, is 2020. I'm pretty sure it is typically a 10-year contract. So, but that means it guarantees that we have access to Columbia students for the next, till 2030. So,
Which is nice, but doesn't give you any secure number.
No, it just
No.
says.
Yeah,
It-
at least it's there.
During that
It's also
time,
interesting to note that the Board of Ed can obligate the town in that way without any approval.
But I think the reason being is that we're not spending the money, we're getting the money from that source. If it was the other way around, I think it would have to be approved by,
We're obligated to provide education. So it's a transaction, it's a two-way transaction. We're providing something, they're providing something.
they're also getting us money.
True.
No, I understand what you're saying, but
True,
I'm
but-
not sure that.
That's kind of an interesting situation.
I know if it was the other way around, and they were contract where we were paying out for a number of years, it would definitely have to.
For instance, suppose something happens to the high school and we didn't have enough room for the external kids. We'd be obligated to pass a bond issue and make the necessary repairs. Wouldn't have any
Well, that would
choices.
depend on what the contract says.
We could be obligated.
It's a
depending
potential,
with the-
that's exactly right.
Well, that's exactly the point. Okay, without review by any other agency in the town, you're making a financial commitment.
Interesting.
It is a good point.
I can discuss with Kristen.
Well, I think more importantly, I can talk with the auditor if you'd like, because I understand your point. It does obligate us, and see what his professional opinion is on that obligation if it's.
More like,
It's a charter issue.
I was gonna say charter or a legal issue as
Well,
opposed to a
yeah.
discussion with
Well-
Kristen.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
I think maybe we ought to we ought to ask somebody like the town attorney.
I would.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Because it could have, even though it's school, it could have financial implications, as you were saying, to the rest of the town if other monies are required because of the sudden influx of students, which would be a wonderful thing in some ways, but.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
just an observation.
Okay, well, I've made note of it, I think. Yeah, I've made a note of it as well. I can have a conversation with Kristen, just how does the contract worded and set that way, but we can also we can talk in terms of,
And like I just said to Josh, maybe there was something legally done before the first contract too that I'm not sure.
So I think there's two
I'm not
parts to
sure.
it. One is
Kristen, was
one
Kristen
is-
here for the contract prior to?
No.
No.
And I just think there's two parts to it. One is your conversation with Kristen. Is it Kristen or Kirsten?
Kristen.
Kristen, and another with perhaps the town attorney for like a legal opinion on it based on statute and our charter.
We will need a motion. For what? To go ask for opinion from the town attorney. No?
Josh can reach out to him and on an informal basis.
So I
Because you
amend
can't go to the town attorney because it's gotta come from our office.
Gotta come from your office. Okay.
I
But to get an opinion, he was mentioning an opinion. To get an opinion, we're gonna need that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we want to spend the money quite yet.
Exactly.
I think in like a informal, as you were suggesting, Sandy, it's like we would just be asking like Josh or the selectmen to go just like informally inquire about this, and then if it requires some formal research, I think then that goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
We just get their initial guidance or direction and then see what that.
And it seems to me that this is something that the town attorney would have addressed many years ago when we first entered into the Columbia
So they might
contract.
just have an old document they could pull
It
out.
may even be in the selectman's office and just be a file dig that needs to happen. And then just a call to say, hey, do you think anything has changed here? We've got this.
Okay. Mr. DePietro.
Yes, I amend my original motion to incorporate the changes that were recommended.
Are there any more, or are we done before you do that?
Hold that motion, the amended. Are there any other comments or changes? I didn't see anything else.
I have none.
You have none, I have none either.
She did mention that there was a possibility of coming to us for an ask in the area of special ed.
That is in here.
It is, where is it?
On the first page, under Board of Education update, the first full paragraph. May have to,
Unbudgeted special education needs.
she said efforts are being made to mitigate the need to ask for additional funds.
Okay, there we go, thanks. I didn't see that.
Any other changes? Okay, Bob, you can,
Done.
he said amending his amendment. Second, all those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Given that everybody raised their hand, I'm assuming,
It could be unanimous then.
there we go. Okay, any correspondence? It's the next item on the agenda. Let's move on to elected official and town staff reports, revenue summary, which is the big spreadsheet with yellow, correct?
We should start with tax.
Oh, I was just, okay, tax collector.
Current year levy is at 101.31%. That again is that's taking into consideration the 98%. So we're just over 98% of the total tax receivable. The, compared to last year, let's see, at 100.26%, so we're actually up almost a whole percentage, or over a whole percentage from last year at this point in time.
You're at roughly 99.7% of the total. 101 times 98, right? That's really close.
Yeah.
Lori does a good job.
That's
She
really
works hard
close.
at it.
Yes, she does. Motor vehicles is at 95.28%. Last
Yes.
year we were at 94.72%, so she's up on motor vehicles. The supplemental has gone out. Unfortunately, we're a little behind on supplemental. I think probably part of that problem was where the holiday stuff fell into. But this year we're at 17.31%. Last year we were at 36.43%.
They went out on January 2nd or December 1st?
No, they went out, I don't know the exact date that they went out. They went out
December 15th, maybe?
No, it was well after that, it was in the December 20s.
Oh, so,
So, yeah, and
Early
the
days.
timing of that, when they went out last year could definitely affect that.
They got shifted to the bottom of the pile, they're now resurfacing, and hopefully by next month we will see.
And because, the holiday fell in the middle of a week, you've also lost a day of mail to the two holidays, so I think we'll see a pickup for next month.
She's doing a bang up
That
job.
being said, as we are talking about tax, we do have the grand list for supplemental is $5,259,000. Do you want to say this slow? $5,259,752.
That's grand list for,
supplemental motor vehicle.
Really?
wow.
Yes.
That's huge.
That's 4 times the actual motor vehicle.
no, they can't be right.
Oh,
No,
that's
the-
gross assessment.
Right. Yeah.
Gross, adjusted gross, that's assessment. Taxes due in total are $205,131.
But our supplemental collection is below the 98%. I think we figured last year, looking back, it was like
Yes.
94%.
So we budgeted 175, which would have been 98% of a number. And that number is actually 205,130.
So what that says is there were $5 million worth of new cars and other items bought after August 15th, is it, or August 1st?
July 1st.
It's
July.
October 1st.
October 1st, which is a lot of cars.
That's a lot of,
Yeah.
$5 million bucks.
I wasn't one of them, no.
wasn't me.
No,
We had an 88.
September.
Alright, so now we're on to anybody have any questions about the tax collection?
No. Anything else?
No.
Now we're going to the other couple. Here's computers. Sorry. Okay, so we got a little bit of the more state money in. We did receive the disability money from the state. We received the vets, Pequot, and I think we already had stabilization, and we got a little bit of law enforcement. That's for tickets. They do that quarterly. Pilot, I think, I'm not sure if Pilot came in before this last month, but we're doing quite well. The interest for this month did go down substantially from previous months, but good news is we're over what we projected for the year already. That being said, we went from a 2.25 to a 1.75, and that is not fixed. So stay tuned. The other was fixed, so it's gonna change from month to month, but it did, just that little bit did make a big difference in our receipt. And we're starting to get to the point where I'm having to take more and more out of there because we are still waiting for no choice money has come in yet.
What's choice money?
That is the grant that we get for, the school gets for the students from Harvard.
Okay.
And these kids still need to be taught and supplies, and so they've been doing this all without any additional money for this year yet. So, we're waiting for that. It will be, I believe, a couple $100,000, but we haven't received it yet. So I am starting to have to take more and more money from that savings to, and then we're coming
Backfill
up.
it when we get the.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, yes, it will not increase. That money that's receiving that interest will not increase until after July 1st again. So this is, I have to take money. Once we start getting, like, when we get we'll get another ECS chunk of money.
Yeah.
And then, and that should be coming, I believe, the end of January or February. So I won't have to take that as much that month, but this month we haven't really received much at all for January, so I've had to take more and more. But
Jill, what are senior donations?
when they go to the casino, seniors will give donations for, the ride, just so that to help pay for the gas or to help pay for lunches, or they'll just make little donations that they don't have to make, but it's nice if they help to pay for the gas or other things like that. It's stuff that Carrie collects from not only seniors, but any citizen that receives services from Carrie's department. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question on the shared services Coventry. We haven't, is that the, that's with this, for the school, am I thinking the wrong thing?
No, it is for a teacher that was share with Coventry. As a matter of fact, Josh and I talked about it earlier. I did reach out to Casal and asked her if we were still on track to receive that $30,000. She said yes. Unfortunately, it will not happen next year. So automatically, we're looking at a loss of $30,000 in our revenue for next year.
Because I think the school is we are sharing a behavioralist with Coventry part-time. And I think based on what I heard at the Board of Ed meeting this month was that in the budget, they're gonna look to have a full-time behavioralist. It's not easy to say. So
Imagine that being your job and you have to say it every day.
thank you. So
that'll be
so it's going from a part-time person.
Yep. And a decrease in our revenue. Yeah.
So Coventry doesn't need the service next year?
I think we need more of a full-time services by what.
So we have 0.6, they have 0.4. We hired the person, they're paying us for the 0.4, but that 0.6 in Bolton is gonna go up to a full-time person, so we really can't share them with Coventry.
Oh.
So they will need to go find their own.
Well,
I think is
actually,
what
it shouldn't increase the budget because we paid for, that was the deal, we paid for the whole person and then took the revenue in to offset it.
Correct.
So it shouldn't impact other than a salary increase.
So if we're using them full-time, then we're not gonna get any money from Coventry, so we basically we assume the difference.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but we were paying for that teacher 100%.
Correct.
And then
Before,
just
yeah,
get
so
reimbursed for it.
it only should hit on one side and be the
Yeah,
rest of the
that's-
side, yes, yeah.
Okay. I would have expected that we would have gotten some sort of payment from Coventry by this point, but
For that, no, I believe it's, last year I would hope so too, but I looked, they didn't pay until February last year. And on that note, we are also expecting 4 less Columbia students, or they are projecting 4 less Columbia students
for next year.
next year. They're projecting
Well, as Kristen Hecht has said every year, it's they get projections, and it's not until pretty much the day before school that they know the final number, because it
Right, but they've
fluctuates.
been right on the last couple of years, they've been right on with the projection, so it's kind of discouraging. There's another chunk of revenue that we will be losing out on.
Anything else on this report? Any other questions? Or comments? Okay. Then let's move on to town update.
If you'll all look at the expenditure sheet, you'll see the two little green dots on it. Same as in the others. Those are the two items that I would most like to point out to you. First and foremost, that as of December 31st, we are not only well under 50%, but we're also beating expectations as compared to the prior 3 years. We've been able to keep costs down. There haven't been really any major unexpected accidents or incidental items that have popped up. And the only potentially caveat to that, specifically the only item that is both above 51% and is also above all 3 prior years is the fire line. And we've discussed this before. There were a number of items from the prior fiscal year that ended up being delivered in this current fiscal year, and therefore the expenses are coming to this budget. I can certainly answer any questions that you have about other lines, but beyond that, we are in very good shape expense-wise.
Of course, we're gonna get a snowstorm on the weekend.
Yeah.
Isn't that when you want to be going to school to go get out?
But from a financial perspective, I don't want
From 8 to 4, right?
yes, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, we're good.
That was the last one, was Monday 8 to 4. But not this one.
No,
This one's,
no.
we'll see what if they're predicting comes true.
3 to 5 supposedly, right?
3 to 5. I also heard 4 to 6. Yeah.
And then it'll be
Throw it out.
Yep, we'll know what it is when it gets here.
when it's open, it's done.
Get up Sunday morning and see what we have. Any other questions on the town update? How did we do with our recycling with the Christmas wrapping paper? I know we talked about.
We won't know that until January or February when the billing comes in.
Okay. I used all of that as fire starter for my fireplace instead of putting it in the recycle.
I reuse them for rewrap for next year.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah, I have kids. That doesn't happen.
Gift bags are nice, they're reusable.
I do.
Kids don't like gift bags,
No,
though.
kids don't like gift bags.
I use a lot of tissue paper and the kids love it.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, anything else? Otherwise, let's move on. Board of Education update.
Do they meet the same time as us?
No, their meeting was last week. I did go to the meeting and I did talk to the chair, Andrew Brunio, about attending, and explained it's very helpful when somebody from the board attends. And we also are going to set up a standing meeting, he, Kristen Hecht, and myself, so that we can discuss things on a timely basis.
Good.
So their meeting was on the 9th, was last week. So we haven't had a chance to sit down between then and now.
I was going to ask you if you were impressed, but I won't.
I will not comment.
It's okay.
Are the meetings under the new chair pretty much operating on the same method that they used before?
I did not attend too many of the regular Board of Ed meetings. I typically only attended just budget ones, so I don't have a good basis of comparison. The Board of Ed meeting last week had a lot of presentations by teachers to the new board, which I found very interesting. If you're interested, I can give you quick highlights. Otherwise, we can, if not, we can, you can look at their minutes and you can see what transpired there. Does anybody want me to give quick highlights or not?
Minutes are fine.
Okay, that's fine. One of the conversations that Bob Monroe and I had with Kristen Hecht, actually Bob had with Kristen earlier in the year, talking about the reports that they provide us. She has taken that feedback and is working with Casal. My understanding is next month's report should look a little different. I haven't seen a preview of it or anything, so just as a heads up, their report may look different next time around. The goal was to try to do a better job of looking at what they have spent and what they are truly going to be expended through the whole year.
Good.
To try to reduce the discretionary spending?
Just trying to be more upfront with when they know what things they're going to, what savings they had. So for example, if they had a teacher that they budgeted here, but when they actually, and that's what was in the budget, when they did the hiring, they were here, or the benefits were different than what was budgeted, that's now money that isn't going to be spent towards that. So trying to be more upfront with those are potential unspent monies.
Great.
That's the goal. We'll see what we get tomorrow. It might take some fine tuning from there, but that was a conversation that Bob Monroe had with her, and that she reiterated that they're working towards.
I think their basis of estimates need work. Okay, their basis of estimates consistently allow them to have a line item for wages and benefits that are which they usually underrun, and they usually take money out of there and apply it in other places. So, which is the latter of which is the so-called discretionary spending. So that's where I'd like to see improvement.
I know they're going through the budgeting process now. I encourage you to go to the Board of Ed budget meetings. They go through pretty much every line item. I would say they do not go through the salaries and wages person by person, just because that's.
The problem, of course, is that you don't have any input at those meetings. You can listen, but that's it.
True. So, does anybody have any questions that I can follow up with Kristen on? Okay.
If I may.
You may.
Kristen noted on her commentary that there were no transfers over $10,000. But if you look at the transfers report that Jill provided you, there's at least one this month only, and it should be cumulative transfers that she's reporting to you.
What you mean you say by month? Over 10,000 or?
Well, I'm not sure.
When
Well,
you say
first of all,
what are you defining as cumulative in what period?
I'm thinking that the way I can only comment on the Board of Selectmen side of the house if we make budget transfers exceeding a particular amount from July 1 to the current transfer, that's the measuring period for when we then have to report to the Board of Finance and ask for permission. So I'm not sure that in fact that's what she's reporting, what she's looking at, and I don't know what she's looking at because there was a transfer greater than $10,000 this month.
14,750.
So
I can tell you that they did make them two different line items, but I came from the same accounts, but they just,
Made them 2 items to stay under.
Well, one's
Which is
from
what I do
Bolton
at
High
work
School and
with
Bolton
my
Center.
so 14,000 is
That was-
one.
but
It
yes,
looks like
no,
one, but that was two
but two
transfers.
different, yeah, it was 2 different transfers, but the same accounts.
And that begs the question of what is the time period? Is it instantaneous or a measured period?
Certain frame. Yeah, I was just curious about that too. Is there some significance to the 10,000? Because for example, at work, there's certain budget items that if I go over $5,000 on a certain item, it goes up to here, has to have approval, gets a bunch of visibility, so we keep it to 4,999, and then nobody pays attention to how many of those I do. So I'm wondering, what are we interested in here? Is it the total amount that gets transferred, or are we looking at certain? I'm just saying,
That's the question.
I don't know, I'm just asking a question.
Board of Finance, I can't answer that for you.
No.
But I believe the charter on our side of the house provides the threshold.
Okay, I'm just asking because it's just saying I know that there's different thresholds that I deal with at work.
There's no threshold in the Board of Education. Is my understanding. This is an informal agreement between the Board of Finance and
You are
and the Board of
correct,
Ed.
you are correct,
Okay.
because by law, they don't have to tell you anything. But it was an informal agreement made years ago. Mr. Monroe would be the one that would be better able to answer that question, because he was a part of the Board of
Yeah, I
Finance.
just was wondering if there's any specific
Yeah.
like charter authority or whatever that sets a threshold, or we're really more interested in how much total gets transferred over the course of the year, because that might indicate some concerns about the budgeting process.
Is that TV camera on? Mm-hmm. It is? Okay. It would be nice to know that. It's not being
It's not
live
live.
streamed,
No.
but it will be accessible somewhere at some point.
Yes, my intention is to bring this back to CDC next week.
Okay. Didn't realize we were actually recording.
So as a favor to the chair, I think you failed to hit a grace note here. This isn't something that's your decision, it's the chair's decision.
I apologize.
It's a public meeting, so I could be sitting here recording without permission.
You could.
Our secretary's recording, clerk is recording anyway, and this is all public record. We do this in inland wetlands. I think the difference is the television camera, because this is all public record that anybody can request, especially if it goes to any legal action. It's all discoverable.
So, because I know in the past we've never done the video recording of the Board of Finance.
That's the only thing I think is
And
different.
just for full disclosure, I was asked by CBC to provide this service so that they wouldn't have to find a volunteer to make it happen. But it's their hope to have recordings of all Board of Ed, Board of Finance, and Board of Selectmen meetings.
I don't have a problem with it being done, I'd just like to know when it's actually being done, that's all.
I apologize.
So, how do I look at it? Okay.
Let's not go there.
You want to get the makeup right next time?
Need to work on your hair.
I know. A little too much shine up on the top. Sorry.
A little powder next time.
Okay. I will ask Bob, since he's a long time standing member, just sort of going back historical, what was the informal threshold? And I am curious how, what the informal agreement was from there, so that, make sure that Kristen is aware of it going forward.
One other quick question is, at the last meeting, I had asked if we could get to what is like mandatory funding for Board of Education, so I was wondering if we had any chance to discuss that.
I did not. From our last meeting, the holidays happened, and it is still on my to-do list. And when I would like to involve the new chair, Andrew Brunel, in the conversation as well. So it is on my agenda.
That's fine. It's one of those things that's not like has to happen immediately. I just don't want to lose sight of it because it helps us understand what certain baselines are. If we know that this is like an unfunded mandate from the state, unfunded mandate from the federal government, they have to spend this amount, so we just don't argue over it.
So I have not lost sight,
Okay, thank you.
but a reminder is always welcome. Anything else from the Board of Ed?
Can I ask? Josh, what does CBC stand for?
Community Voice Channel.
Okay.
The old fire department building.
Public access.
Okay. Then the next item on our agenda is fiscal year 19 budget status.
So usually it's just, if there's any concerns, questions, it's time. I don't know if Sandy or Josh has heard anything about revenues that for this year that have changed at all, or Sandy has heard anything more about the county roads. That's usually what we do at this time.
Okay.
Josh, what I want to ask is if those open vacancies that are advertised are filled, will that affect budget for 2019?
No, it should not. All of these boards and commissions are holding meetings anyways. There are a few that have been put on hiatus, like the Energy Committee, which recently was given instructions to resume their meetings. That was all due to a misconception about quorums. But in any case, the money is already there for those boards and commissions. The only thing that's going to change the current fiscal year's budgets and potentially future budgets down the road is number of applicants when it comes to permitting, things like that nature. But number of representatives on those boards shouldn't.
Or are you talking about full-time positions that we're looking for, like the land use? The land use secretary is a replacement position. The media coordinator is a replacement position. The program coordinator will be half-time with recreation, and that is a self-funded position. The recreation department is pretty much self-supporting here with their fees for attendees. And then the other is a part-time position at the senior center that's being filled with a different type of employee. It's currently a vacancy.
Thank you.
I apologize that I misunderstood. We're advertising for a lot of vacancies.
All budgeted for.
Yes.
All budgeted
And
for.
the budget passed last year.
Yes.
There are vacancies in those.
It might affect the run rate, that's all.
Correct, but we've been vacant for some of those. The land use administrator's position, its administrative assistant's position is currently full. That individual's retiring at the end of February. So we're hoping to have some overlap there, but
Will the overlap cause any budgetary issues?
I don't think so, because we currently have a vacancy in the selectman's office. So
Okay.
it sort of balances out.
Okay. I'm sure if it is or becomes, we will know.
And the other thing is we're replacing a longtime employee with someone.
Right, they'll come in at a rate of 90% of
Yeah.
the pay.
For the first 6 months, which would be
Right. The rest of
until the end of the fiscal year, so that'll be a savings as well.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or concerns for current year budget? Shared services, nothing to. Okay, the budget calendar.
Want to compliment you and the layout that you provided too. Josh gave us a copy of this. I think it's great. Thank you very much.
Oh, what he's referring, is that,
I got a copy for the other members if you'd like.
Yes. I see Bob waiting something.
If you want to explain a little bit about what we hope to do with the next one.
one of the things that Josh and I have talked about, as everybody should know from our budget document that we prepare, there's a write-up that is from the Board of Finance. It's verbiage around what the budget is, et cetera. And what Josh has done is these are communications that have gone out, are going out.
They have gone out. There will be an amended version of this going out just to correct that we will not be at Notch Road for the budget workshops. We will be at the Senior Center, but they have gone out.
When you say gone out via email, I would say snail mail.
Email.
Email, okay.
This is the goal is to educate the town on the process, and hopefully, to your point before we even started, Ross, to try to get more people involved in the process. If they know about the meetings that are coming up, maybe they will attend and they will participate. Understanding how the process works, what is the budget and how it impacts them. So this is sort of the first one. The second one is going to go into more details about specifically the budget that is being presented, correct? Because I think that's what you were intending for the second one.
Yeah, and Board of Finance especially, your process when you'll be meeting those types.
Right, so this is the Board of Selectmen and Board of Ed budget workshops. Mm-hmm. And so the next one will be the Board of Finance, when are our workshops pulling together the final budget and what's represented in that final budget.
Josh had asked me, but at that time we still hadn't adopted, and hopefully we'll get some of these dates adopted tonight. But there was only the public hearing and the first two budget meetings.
Because those are regular meetings, right?
One is regular and one's the week after.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one that the Board of Ed and Kristen had said it was fine that when they presented their budget. So those we did approve, but the budget calendar that I have here is only through when you have to have your budget done, because we still have to wait for the Board of Selectmen to pick the referendum date. So I just chopped off the bottom half of it just to try to get these adopted, or these dates adopted, so that we could maybe share them with the public.
Good.
No, this looks very good. It's one of those things I think that this is probably going, it's like, I don't like paying lip service to freedom of information and letting people know, and I think more about the spirit of things that we do, and I like this thing because it's inviting people into the process. So I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Josh,
Thank you.
for spearheading that.
If there's anything that you, Emily, or any other member of the board would like to see put into the edition that comes out that really speaks to the Board of Finance, please feel free to let me know. Probably the sooner we start putting that together, the sooner it'll be out and the better.
I actually think
Yeah, this looks nice.
Yep. I actually think to your point that it might be good if we did some stuff, some publicity for ourselves like that, because I saw that the Board of Education does that. And it might be good to have something similar come from you, as the chair of the board, to do some, publicity about what we are, what we do, what our goals are for the town, and what we're trying to get accomplished, that type of thing. And some of our successes and so forth.
Okay. I like the idea. I will take that and see what I can do with it.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, to the budget calendar. So I know that we had, we saw a draft of this last month. And Kristen Hecht requested the 319 be the Board of Ed. She was okay with the Board of Ed being on that night. And the 26th, does that work for the Board of Selectmen?
Yes, and I believe I did. But that should be, location should be Town Hall, because I believe I did get it with Kathy.
So that's for 326.
Correct. Also, I have spoke with the appropriate people at the school, and we do have the building, the commons, the high school student commons for the 28th for the public hearing.
Okay, great.
And I didn't want to secure the other dates with Kathy until this was adopted, or secure them maybe here, maybe at the senior center, if so be.
Okay, in terms of, okay, in terms of the rest of the dates, we have the April 2nd and the 9th, so those are 1 week apart, and then the 16th, which is the following week. And thank you for noting that the 13th through the 17th is spring break for the schools. I will most likely be out of town for that. And I think so will Kristen. And then okay, so then the 20th, April 20th, is really our last chance to finalize the budget, because on the 22nd, it has to go into the town clerk, correct? Okay.
It can be advertised before that point.
Okay.
And for new members, there may be additional meetings
I know you
in here.
You have forewarned us,
Yes.
fully expect it. It's this budget cycle.
Right,
As I deal
right.
with it at work, ours is offset from this one, but it's the same thing.
Right. That depending on what you accomplish in a given night, there may be more, there may be less.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the 4/16 meeting, a regular meeting, is in jeopardy. We may have to move that.
We did, remember last year, I don't know if you remember, but we did
Yeah,
cancel that.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's one of our regular meetings, so I mean, it can stay on there, and we can, as we get closer, decide whether
If we have
if we have a quorum, we can keep it and just discuss town meeting, normal stuff, and not the budget deliberations, if we want to do that.
Revenues and expenditures and that kind of stuff.
If we want to do that, or have a budget deliberation, and I just won't be here for that. But I will make sure that I have the 20th on my calendar, so that as I'm traveling back from Spain, I'm home.
So the Board of Selectmen sets the referendum date, but why do we have to have 5/10 must adopt the budget on before this?
Charter says there has to be, but before the end of April, that the budget's adopted.
This is the first budget going to referendum?
Correct.
Okay.
And the public hearing has to be done before May 1st.
On or before May 1st.
So it's the public hearing that defines our critical path. So we have to be done so that we can have the public hearing on the the end of April.
Yep.
And then after that,
As many meetings as you have to have in order to
You gotta
accomplish
get it
that by
done.
May 10th.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody have any other comments on the budget calendar? Is this, well, we still can't, it's not complete.
Not complete.
So,
But again, in order to try to help with getting it out to the
I
public.
think it's good for guidance.
Right, certainly.
With
we're
the
gonna have
understanding
to
that it's
revisit this.
there's going to be some tweaking to it as we go in accordance with the charter and getting the notifications out in
meeting.
time.
Yes, every meeting we'll relook at it. The February meeting, we'll look at it again, if the Board of Selectmen make their,
And if you're comfortable with these dates, we, the Board of Selectmen, can set the referendum date at our February meeting, so that'll be firmed up closer in.
I'm comfortable with these dates,
Yeah,
if this
that sounds
is, so then why don't we say, these dates through February 10th? What's listed here are.
May 10th.
May,
that's cheap.
5/10. Yes, what she said. Through May 10th this will be our calendar. We'll put 'em on.
Does this require a vote or no? I'm just,
I need a motion to approve the budget review calendar as presented.
so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Unanimous? Thank you. So Josh, in terms of putting together the next flyer, we can put these dates out there.
Sounds good.
Okay. And Jill, if you can get locations so that locations are
I
in
can
there,
definitely do that now.
that would be great.
And then
Okay.
for the next meeting, I'll have them on the calendar so that we can just know where we're.
And Josh, I really appreciate going to the Bolton Senior Center or here, preferably the Senior Center.
Of course.
They had to literally carry me down to there.
I know.
It was bad.
If it can't be here, then I will
Thank you.
Sounds good.
see if
Questions?
it's there.
The special meetings, do they also start at 7:15?
We typically have made them
Yes,
7:15,
Yes,
just so that,
Consistency.
yeah.
we try to keep it consistent to the board members, because you get used to a certain time. Unless there's a special reason why we change the time.
So thank you. I hadn't realized that there weren't times on some of these meetings. So at this point, all of the meetings here will be 7:15. Okay. Anything else with the budget calendar, budget process? Okay. The other item on our new business is we need to appoint somebody for the CAPA meeting. So that's the capital improvement plan, where the group meets monthly, actually not even.
Once or twice a year.
Once or twice a year. I know that they will meet now because they have to include a part of the capital plan in the budget cycle. And so we need someone from our board to sit on that. There's representatives from the Board of Ed as well as from the Board of Selectmen.
I'd be interested.
Yeah, I think I'd like to take that on also.
I recommend it.
Okay?
Yeah.
Any other interest?
After I retire maybe, but not yet. I got enough to deal with this one.
Do I need a motion to appoint or can I just appoint? I will appoint,
It's within the powers of the chair.
within
Your
my
vast-
power
your
of
vast
chair,
powers.
I will appoint Dick Tuttle as our CAPA representative.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to note that that is a public meeting, so if you decide you'd like to attend, you're very welcome. It will be, help me Josh, next Wednesday night, no, 2 weeks, Wednesday the 29th.
It'll be on our website.
And it's on the website. It's at 7 o'clock at the Board of Education offices. They have lots of confusion.
Where are those?
72 Brandish Street in the Board of Education offices, go
At
through
the school.
At the
At the
high
school.
school.
At the high school.
At the
So
high
if you look
school.
at the high school, the far right parking lot by the tennis courts is the Board of Ed entrance.
Oh,
There's a small park
Okay.
there in front.
And then go through the doors, and the conference room is immediately to the
all right.
right.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Dick, for volunteering. Appreciate it.
I've attended one of them, so. last year.
And a few more.
Very good.
I presume you'll report back to the board.
No.
Will be here to fill in.
Okay. Just as a reminder, our next meeting is February 20th, 7:15, this location. If there's nothing,
Question about this handout, anything I need to know?
That was just something that Sandy wanted me to share with the board members. She thought that it's something you would
So
send me if I
what
finally
is
had a
it
chance
and
to.
why did you want to share it, I guess is my question.
I guess I don't remember what it was, but,
It's the ACER.
oh, you had asked about what other people were doing and the advisory commission on intergovernmental relations and what they were doing about the state budget process and experiences of other towns and communities.
Oh, so this is just like giving us a little insight to what other towns, and is there any particular size of them or?
I think it actually looks at everybody over 2 years.
Okay.
There's 169 towns in Connecticut and 169 different ways to adopt a budget, so.
As we
What's in
learned-
here, though, is
As we
mostly
learned in
small
our
towns.
class on Saturday at CCM.
yes.
It was very interesting, that was a good class. I was
The
passed out.
intro to budget.
Intro to budget,
we are-
freedom of information, and how town governments, what type of town governments we have in Connecticut.
We are
and how they
adjourned.
work.